Game 2 of the NBA Finals just got wrapped up. Knicks come out on top. They defeat the Spurs 105 to 104, I believe the score was. And man, game was definitely a whirlwind for sure. Again, it's always a game of runs. I mean, that is how the history of basketball is always. Teams always go on runs no matter what. But man, obviously, the Spurs started out the game pretty strong, guys. So I believe the highest the league got in the first or second quarter around that area. It got up to 12 points, and then the Knicks, they came storming back and went on a big run, take the lead, and then the Knicks pretty much had control of the game up to that point, and then started to go later in the fourth quarter. The Spurs they came back, tied up the game, and then eventually obviously, well, I'll get more in depth into that later. But Jalen Brunson hits those free throws. Wemby misses the game winner, and the Knicks are going back home, back to Madison Square Garden. Up to, I know them Knicks fans and they going crazy right now. They probably on video on the what's it called, the side street, whatever the video. You know what account I'm talking about. They going stupid right now. I can't wait to see how the energy is on. I believe game 3 is on Monday. Yeah, I can't wait to see how the energy is. It's going to be crazy for sure. Obviously, a lot happened in this game, but similar to game 1, I want to first give my props to the big purr, Karl Anthony Towns himself. If he keeps this up, obviously we're 2 games in, depending on how long the series goes. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a sweep, 4, 5, 6, 7, what have you. Based on how it's going, I guess the Knicks they just going to bring out the room soon. But how this series is going so far, Karl Anthony Towns, he's going to Finals MVP, at least in my opinion. Jalen Brown obviously had, I believe, maybe 30, 31 in game 1. But Cat's performance goes far past that box. I mean, today he did have 21 and 13, and I believe 5 assists. So obviously he did fill up the stat sheet pretty well today. But man, his defense on Wemby in the second half, he was more aggressive and hitting more of his shots. But in the first half, Wemby didn't even want to look at the basket. It's like how people it's like Wemby, he's getting the reverse. He's finally seeing what's like on the other side of things. Except he's being bothered by Cat, and he's not 7 for 4. Cat is just he has the weight on his side. Obviously, he has way more experience than Wemby. He Denver low bro and Wemby. If I'm being honest, it's like Wemby kind of can't get past them. It's funny. Obviously, Wemby, we know he's skinny. He has a slimmer frame. That's obvious. That's the most obvious thing about him. Obviously, he's not all the way fit. I mean, hey, I was skinny guys too. I get it, but again, I'm like barely scratching 6 foot. Wemby 7 for 4. But regardless of that fact, man, Cat has been phenomenal offensively. He's getting to the work. He's got a really good quick first step. I feel like people they kind of talk about, but not like a left. Like for how big of a person Cat is, he's very nimble and light on his feet. He's not clumsy. Obviously, bigs they could kind of be more like a daisical. Because when you're that tall, you don't have as much grace with the game. But Cat, he is like one of the smoothest games I've ever seen. Like not even just for someone's time, but just like in general, the way that he moves on the court is crazy. But like he was attacking the basket. Obviously, he's gonna hit his threes and just catch me. He's just doing his thing. So I want to definitely give my props to Karl Anthony Towns. And Jalen Brunson, he did his shoot well. He shot like shit actually from the field, but he did hit the free throws to put them up to win the game. So obviously, gotta give my props to Jalen Brunson there. But overall, the others for the Knicks, I feel like they really showed up. OG, he was playing really good defense and was even getting to the basket. He damn near dunked. It wasn't kind of on Wemby, but like Wemby was trying to contest, and he like but he was using his weight and put his shit into Wemby a little bit, and he was doing his thing. Shout out to Mikal, he was definitely a sniper all game long, pretty much. I know he missed his first shot, and after that he ripped up like 8 or 9 straight buckets. After that, he was really good too. Landry Shamet was also hitting some timely threes, some quality threes. I believe Deuce McBride hit a pretty big three, towards the end of the game. So I just the depth of the Knicks, I think, really shows up and showed out, and especially in moments like these, I feel like a lot of the A's conversation gets tossed about a lot, but like the Spurs and the Knicks, but the Knicks are like they definitely are more of a veteran team, no doubt about that. But like they still have a lot of young pieces on their team too, so I don't want to because I feel like they're just head and shoulders above like the Spurs in terms of like like the age difference and whatnot, but like. The Knicks aren't like they're not like old geezer by any means, but they also are pretty bad tests, especially Jalen Brunson, the head of the snake. There, he's been they've had conference finals runs, obviously now a finals run. Mikal Bridges has made a finals run and things like that. And so so the resiliency of this team is definitely something to always like to look at when we're in these tight situations. On the Spurs side of things, I would say overall I think they did play a pretty easy. I've noticed it same kind of problem is similar to game one and game two. They started out the first quarter really hot, really well. And that second quarter, I don't know what happens sometimes. I do think the ball kind of can tend to stick a little bit. They kind of get away from, more of that, motion or, movement. I kind of get the offense kind of get stagnant at times, especially when they don't have like a primary league. I know it's a shout out to De'Aaron Fox. He did first half he was kind of I up to the third, but fourth quarter he really did show up. He's been really kind of iffy, especially last game one he wasn't good, and throughout the playoffs in general he's kind of been shaky. Even this kind of season he hasn't really been on his like top tier A game that we know he can be at times. So definitely not a stretch, but the Spurs overall, I think I don't know like. I feel like they could do kind of get a little bit like rattled in a sense towards the end of games. Obviously, this game they didn't end up going on a run, but I don't know some of the shots selection, particularly with Wemby. I guess I can get into the main bulk of the Spurs. Some of the shots he takes, obviously, he's 7'4", and I know the whole conversation is. Just get your big ass in the paint, which like 99% of the time I do agree. But there's also the 1% like the Knicks know that like he's 7'4". It's not a secret. So obviously he can't just stand by the basket and just grab it and just done because that's what's going to do. That would be the case. They would do that every possession. And so basketball is a lot more complicated, and they make ways, obviously, on purpose for him not to get there. But at the same time, I don't think Wemby should bend his knee as much to kind of getting forced out of those situations. As I mentioned earlier, when it came to hanging out by Cat and stuff, he wasn't even looking at the basket. In the first half, again, he did shoot a lot of more shots. He's more aggressive, which I want to just diminish that. The first half, though, I think he only had 4 shot attempts and 7 points. That's just unacceptable from your best player. I don't give a damn. I think that's a better word I could use. Who was guarding you? Be a man, take some shots. So I'm just gonna put it like that. Like 4 shots is unacceptable. Like we got on Chet's ass for doing the same thing, and you know this was for the Chet. You 5 times the player Chet is. So there should be no reason you shying away from the moment. Like you top 3, top 2. Some people say you're the best player in the league. I don't know if I give him that crown just yet. I think I'm gonna get that to Shea, but nonetheless, like you one of them dudes. So like when it comes to how you operate, you got to play like you're one of those dudes. And second half he did, but that turnover at the end, obviously. I don't know whether to get the full blame, not full blame, but like put on the shoulders of whether it's Wemby or Stephon Castle. Because obviously Castle, he's not looking at the ball as the point guard. You should know, like, I don't know, he's looking down the court or his head is all over the place, but you should at least be, looking to your big man. Because first of all, I don't know when Wemby's bringing the ball to the court. It's probably be a guard bringing it up, but but at the same time, if I'm Wemby and I see Castle's not even looking at me, like we're not even making eye contact, I probably shouldn't have thrown the ball in the first place. I saw people on Twitter try to say that like, the way that he was, like he looked at Wemby first and then he turned, but I watched the clip back and forth. Even though he did turn where Wemby threw the ball, it was on the complete other side of his body. So even if he was looking, the communication still wasn't there. And I think even just in general, they probably should have called a timeout. The score was tied. It's not they necessarily needed to rush and get down. I obviously, you don't want to try to let the Knicks set up their offense or whatnot. But like at the same time, get a little bit of a sense of what you want to do and like is say F it when you're going down the court. Like, worst case scenario, you do go down there and you miss a shot or whatnot, and you just go to overtime instead of losing and being down 2-0. Maybe if they do go to overtime, they still lose, but I'd rather, take that, be safe about it instead be a foul. At the end of the day, you don't want to, you want to, give your best effort. I think that pass towards that turnover, it was just a lazy pass, I think it's in general. And I think there was no rush. You didn't have to hurry it. I can understand maybe, let's say you're down 1, and maybe, yes, you want to get the ball, try to score so they can still have that timeout. But that wasn't the case. The score was tied. You didn't have to do that. And so, obviously, Jalen Brunson goes, makes those free throws, get the ball back. I kind of do, I guess I do like the look that Wemby ended up getting up. I mean, I would have preferred, again, something closer to the basket, but, a pick and roll, he fades off the De'Aaron Fox. Sure, I do think he got a good look. I think, that is a shot Wemby has made and he can make, but in situations like that, I think you want to put your best player in the, like the best position for him to succeed. And I just particularly don't think that play or that sort of what have you. I don't think that was the best way to use Wemby's abilities. Like I said earlier, he is 7'4". You want to put him as close to the basket as humanly possible. You want to get him as close to the basketball as like humanly possible. So I don't know why we're doing minis, but I do think, at least I hope so. I don't know, honestly. I guess I was thinking about it in my head. I don't know if how Game 3 will go for the Spurs, because maybe they're rattled. Maybe they, we don't, maybe, we overachieved. We got this far. We don't know how to operate. We don't know what to do at this point. And they could honestly. I think it's either going to be a Spurs blowout in Game 3 or a Knicks blowout. I think, I don't think it's going to be a close game. I think the Spurs, they want to prove that, they got this, they can bounce back. I think on the Knicks side, if the Spurs really are demoralized, the Knicks could, like, okay, we got them, we're up 2-0. They already, feeling down. Like, let's go for the head at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how things go in Game 3 for sure. But let me know what you guys thought about this game. Definitely, this was a heater. This was one of my favorite games of the playoffs for sure. And I can't wait to see how this rest of this finals progresses. I did also, before I finish, actually, I'm making shorts and TikToks, condensed versions of the same things, but I still want to get my longer takes, because obviously I'm not gonna record a TikTok for however long this video is. If you guys want to check this out, the YouTube shorts, obviously it's on the same page as this YouTube, and in every video I will be linking down my TikTok in the description below. But yeah, thank y'all for watching. Hope y'all enjoy. I'll see y'all after Game 3. Peace.